himself understood what had happened to him. He says as much in the text. He understood the significance. This is why I started. Remember, when he met Ram, he says, come with me. Come with me to my village, so that they can see that I am there to you. So he understood the significance of being accepted by Ram. Because in this katha itself, later on he says, Kapati, Kayaru, Kumati, Kujati, Loka, Beda, Bahera, Sababhanti. I know that I am low-born. Kujati. I am low-born. Loka, Beda, Bahera, Sababhanti. That's what everybody tells me. Everybody tells me that I am a low-born person. And they say the scripture also says that about you. Loka, this is Guha speaking about himself. I know I am low-born because they all say it. And they tell me that this is what our texts teach also. Ram kinha apana jabahite, but Ram made me his own. This is what people say, but I know that Ram accepted me. Ram kinha apana jabahite, bhaye bhuvana bhushana tabahite. Ram made me his own. And because of that, I am somebody. I have become a person in this world. So I'm not, he's saying, I don't, it doesn't matter to me what they say again. Because Ram has made me his own. Ram embraced me. And Bharat understood this. Now, the question for us today, because we have to ask ourselves, what does this mean for us today? How does this encounter between Guha and Ram, Guha and Bharat, how does it speak to us today? What are we going to take from this tonight? What do I want you to take from this? That is the question. And this is why I say, every time you read Ramayana, stop and substitute the word God for Ram, or substitute divine for Ram. And then what will it mean? It means that everyone is dear to Ram. Every human being is dear to Ram. Every human being is Ram Priya. Every human being is Ram Sakha. You are Ram Priya. You are Ram Sakha. I am Ram Priya. I am Ram Sakha. In the eyes of Ram, there is no low and there is no high. In the eyes of God, in divine eyes, there is no outcast. There is no high. There is no low. Because in our Hindu tradition, everyone is touched by God. Everyone is touched. Everyone is already touched by God. The God we worship in the Hindu tradition is not a God that lives out there, far and distant from us. It is the God that lives in the heart of every human being. So to reject a human being as a Hindu is to reject God. Is to reject the divine itself. Bharat understood this when he heard Ram Priya. If he had said to Guha, don't come near me, you are low, then how is it he would have betrayed Ram? He would have violated his brother Ram himself, because Ram had embraced Guha. So this is the tradition that we hold on to as Hindus, that every human being is touched by God. Every human being is dear to God. Every human being is beloved by God. And if every human being has value in the eyes of God, every human being should have value in our eyes. In our eyes also. Anything less than that is not true. Any teaching, and I come back to this point. It is a significant point. Twice, the people themselves are saying, Loka Veda Sababhanti Nisha. The people believe. And some texts say also, some sacred texts say that they are low people and they are high people. And Guha says that also. They tell me that the sacred text says that I am low. But Ram has accepted me. So I say to you tonight, if anyone tells you that there is a text that says some people are high and some people are low, say that that text teaching is false. That is not authentic teaching. That is not true teaching. The true teaching is what we are seeing here. That in the eyes of God, there is no one high. There is no one low. Any other teaching is to be rejected. And I reject it. And I reject it. And I hold on to that teaching. What is important to me is to know. And I would never give this up. Is to know that every human being is dear. Every human being is precious. Every human being has value. Every human being has equal worth, equal dignity, equal value. And as Hindus, today in the United States, where we are living here and we are raising our families. We have our children, we will have our grandchildren, we will have our great-grandchildren also living in the United States. And you know that this is a country that is struggling with the fact of diversity, with the fact of difference. It's become a very controversial issue here. For many people here, unfortunately, the fact that you're different means you're inferior. I'm just different, I'm not inferior. I have a different skin color. I practice a different religion. Difference does not equal being less value. So we as a community, let us be known as a community that speaks up for people who are treated inferior, for people who are devalued because they are different. This is something that we must become known for, because this is at the heart of the teaching of our tradition. Every human being, remember tonight, Ram Priya, you are dear to Ram, and therefore you are dear to me. You are Ram Sakha, and therefore you are my Sakha. And we have to become known for that. That's our teaching. And where do we start? We start in our own community. We start by making sure that within our own community, we treat every human being as dear to Ram. That we overcome these boundaries of high and low, and we value every human being equally because of what our tradition teaches. This is how this becomes relevant for us. And this is what you have to teach your children also, so that they have self-value. Because it's very difficult for them. If they are denied value because of the color of their skin, because of the religious tradition that they practice, because of the way they dress, because of the difference in the food they eat, let them know that they belong to a tradition that teaches them that they are valuable. They are valuable. And And to be different is not to be less Nepali. It's just to be different. The United States has to learn to embrace diversity. And the Hindu tradition can help this country do that. But we have to make sure that we don't do it in our own, within our own communities. Then we become really authentic. Because then sort of others can't point and say, well, what are you talking about? Look what you do within your own community. We've got to cleanse our own community and practice these truths. So when Bharat met Guha, he recognized him as Ram Priya. So this is the first challenge for all of us, to learn to recognize the value of others. Yes. It's an act of recognition. It doesn't matter who the person is. We have to recognize that act of recognition is important. We must see in the person we meet for the first time. We always have to remember. Recognition is an act of remembering. What we remember, that this person is dear to God. This is very important that Tulsidas. This is how he starts Ramayana. He says, at the very beginning of his text, Akarachari lakha chaurasi, jati jiva jalathala nabhavasi. One of my favorite verses. Siya Ram mai sab jagajani, karahu pranam jora julapani. He says, look, Akarachari lakha chaurasi. In this world, the varieties of beings, the variety of species, I can't count them. Because they live deep in the ocean. They live in the air. Akarachari lakha chaurasi, jati jiva jala thala nabhavasi. But I know one thing. I don't know everything about every species. I don't know all of the species that live in the oceans, all of the birds that fly in the air. I don't know all the people who live in remote parts of the world, but I know something. Siya Ram mai. It's a beautiful statement. I know something about everyone, even though I don't know the particulars of this person. I know Siya Ram mai. And here's this beautiful word for God, Siya Ram. He always calls God Siya Ram, Siya Ram. Siya Ram mai sabajit. But I know that in the heart of everyone is this divine, Siya Ram. And therefore, Karahu Pranam Jor Jagapani. Tulsidas is very, very, very profound saint. He's the only person who I think has written a text like Ramayana. At the very beginning, he starts off in Balkand. He's given praise to everyone. Yes. He begins to praise the devas in the heavenly worlds. He praises the rishis. He praises all the gurus. But he praises also the people who he says are not, who are evil. He says, I also bow to them. Beautiful words. I also bow to those who do evil. Not that he approves of the evil that they do, but he says even they, ignorant as they are, they cannot erase God from their hearts. God is too powerful even for them to expel from their heart. So I bow to them also. Or I bow to the divine who is also in them, a divine that they don't know. I don't know any other text in which a writer says something is Tulsidas. So we must learn to recognize. And when after we recognize, when we see the divine in the other, we must celebrate that. It gives us joy. So you see, Bharat was very happy. Very happy when he met someone who was Ram Sakha. Ram Priya, it brought him joy. So similarly, when we recognize the divine in someone, it should fill our hearts with joy. And thirdly, that person becomes a member of our community. We include the person in our community. And we see that happening here. After Bharat greets Guha, Shatrughan, who is there with him, also meets him. The queen mothers also meet him. He becomes a member of the community. He's included now with the community. He joins this party in search of Ram. They're all happy, as though they were seeing Lakshmana himself. There are many examples in the Ramayana. Tomorrow night I will give one or two other examples. We see this again and again, that accepting another, especially in this kind of society, that this acceptance was also included physically. It had to be also physical because of this problem of untouchability. So when Ram, throughout the text, Tulsidas described repeatedly that Ram would bring someone to sit close to him, or he would embrace someone, he would touch. And that touch was signified, represented full acceptance of the other. I experienced some of these problems growing up, so I can speak. So, I didn't understand all that was happening when I was a child, as a Hindu child growing up. But very often I would go to pujas. And when the moment for eating came, there was segregation.
Yes.
People would not sit. Some would sit separately. That segregation took place. I don't know if it still happens, but I experienced it. Where people would not accept water from others or food from others, would not want to sit close to them for meals, even after religious worship. The eating became segregated. And that has all to do with what I'm speaking about here, with regarding some people. Because if you share a meal with them or you sit with them, somehow you believe, you are now made impure by that association. And there are some, I was recently in Trinidad. And now we have a lot of visitors, religious teachers coming from India to Trinidad. So on this visit, someone asked me, he says, why is it that some of these religious teachers from India don't want us to touch them, touch the feet? Why is it? I said, I can tell you why. And it's an unfortunate truth.
It is, yes.
Because they regard you as lower.
Right.
And they think that if you touch them, they don't know who you are, what caste you belong to, but they assume that you may be a lower caste. If you touch them, they become impure. They become impure. So some of these habits are still present. And unless we identify them, and we speak out against them, and we challenge them, they will not change. They will not change. I mean, Pandit Lakshman knows that. And I don't like people touching my feet. I don't want anyone to wash my feet. It's not because I think I'm superior. Because I think if you have to wash my feet, I can wash your feet also. Because I see you as Ram Priya, Ram Sakha. You know, I feel very embarrassed. I'll be very honest with you. I feel very embarrassed to have someone wash my feet, especially another human being in whom I see God. I know you mean it as an act of respect. I understand that. But I just say to you that, you know, I am not comfortable with that. I'm never comfortable with it. I think one of the greatest, you know, this is a very holy time, you know, for us. Today is Hanuman Jayanti in the Christian church. There's also, you know, it's the Easter weekend. Today is Good Friday. It's the crucifixion of Jesus. This is a very holy period for our religious traditions. And we can learn from others also. You know, one of the greatest examples that Jesus observed in his life, and even today, you know, the Pope still does it, is to wash the feet of others. Not to have your feet washed, but to wash the other's feet. What an example it would be if a Hindu priest does that. Instead of having his feet washed, wash the feet of some people in the congregation to express this Ram Sakha, Ram Priya. That we are all equal. We are all united in the eyes of God. It would be a very powerful example. So this is the message I leave with you tonight. Please give thought, give consideration to it. You know, the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, after teaching Arjuna for 18 chapters, he says, Arjuna, I've taught you, yatha ichchasi tatha kuru. So now you reflect on what I have said, and you do as you choose. That's it. That is a true teacher. He gives to the listener the freedom. I have told you what is dear to me, now you. Yatha ichchasi, as you desire, Arjuna, you do. If this teaching is meaningful to you, then take it. Do something with it. Share it with someone. Challenge someone. If you hear someone teaching on the, you know, on the basis of the Hindu tradition that there is high and there is low, challenge it. Don't let it go unchallenged. Question it. And then you make a difference. You may make a difference by doing that, by asking that question, by sharing that teaching. You may make a difference in that person's understanding. So I conclude, I ask you to sing with me. Let us worship the feet of Sri Ram, the one who embraced the Guha. Kamala Raghunandan, Kamala Raghunandan, Kamala Raghunandan, Kamala Raghunandan, Bando Charana Kamala Raghunandan, Bando Charana Kamala Raghunandan, Kamala Raghunandan, Kamala Raghunandan, Kamala Raghunandan, Kamala Raghunandan, Bando चरण कमल रघुनंदन जिनकी कृपा सकल सुख संपत्ति जिनकी कृपा सकल सुख संपत्ति पावत जन भक्तन उर चंदन पावत जन भक्तन उर चंदन चरण कमल रघुनंदन चरण कमल कमल रघुनंदन कमल रघुनंदन कमल रघुनंदन चरण कमल रघुनंदन चरण कमल रघुनंदन अवधपुरी प्रभु नित्य विराजत अवधपुरी प्रभु नित्य विराजत जनक सुतायुत दुष्ट निकंदन जनक सुतायुत दुष्ट निकंदन बंदो चरण कमल रघुनंदन बंदो चरण कमल रघुनंदन बंदो चरण कमल रघुनंदन बंदो चरण कमल रघुनंदन दीनतापहरण मरण भय दीनतापहरण मरण भय दूर करत छिन्ने जन रंजन दूर करत छिन्ने जन रंजन बंदो चरण कमल रघुनंदन बंदो चरण कमल रघुनंदन कमल रघुनंदन कमल रघुनंदन कमल रघुनंदन कमल रघुनंदन बंदो चरण कमल रघुनंदन बंदो चरण कमल रघुनंदन भक्तन मत चरणन में भगवन भक्तन मत चरणन में भगवन कृपा करी